What if the man you walked away from became everything you ever wanted, just for someone else? Monica always dated men who had it all: the success, the wealth, the luxury. But when she met Steven, a charming, ambitious medical student who wasn't quite there yet, she had a choice: wait for him to build his future or find someone who already had it. Monica chose the latter. 5 years later, fate brings them back together in the most unexpected way. Would you have seen Steven's potential? Or would you have made the same mistake Monica did? This is Monica's story. Monica had always known what she wanted in a man, or at least she thought she did. Her dating history read like the guest list of an exclusive gala: doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, men who wore designer suits, drove luxury cars, and picked the most expensive wine without glancing at the price. She loved the security, prestige, and effortless way money smoothed out life's rough edges. And yet, none of those relationships had ever lasted. She had been wined and dined, flown first class to tropical getaways, and showered with extravagant gifts. But every relationship seemed to end the same way. Either she grew bored or they grew distant. There was always something missing, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. So when Steven first approached her one random afternoon, Monica barely gave him a second thought. He was handsome, no doubt about that. Tall, charming smile, a confidence in his stride that made her pause. But then she learned the catch. He was in medical school. Not a doctor, not yet. A man with potential, sure. But Monica had never been the type to wait. Still, something about Steven pulled her in. Maybe it was how he looked at her like she was the most interesting woman in the room, or how easily their conversation flowed, full of laughter and effortless charm. He wasn't trying to impress her with wealth or status. He didn't have those things, at least not yet. And for once, Monica found herself wondering, what if? She had no idea that this one choice, to give him a chance, would be the decision she'd regret for the rest of her life. Monica wasn't expecting to meet anyone that day. She was in full errand mode: leggings, oversized sunglasses, an iced coffee in one hand, and her phone in the other. The last thing on her mind was flirting. But then she heard his voice. "Excuse me, but I must ask, how does someone make running errands look that good?" She glanced up, ready to roll her eyes at another lame pickup line, but then she saw him, Steven. Tall, effortlessly handsome, with warm brown eyes that held just the right amount of mischief. His smile? The kind that could make a girl forget what she was supposed to be doing. Monica arched a brow, smirking. "Is that your best line?" "No, but I figured I'd start with something easy before I pull out the good stuff." She hadn't planned to keep talking. Really, she should have just walked away. But there was something different about him. He wasn't just throwing compliments. He was comfortable, like he belonged in the moment, like he had nothing to prove. "So do you always stop women mid-errand run, or am I just special?" "Oh, definitely special." His grin widened. "But if you need more convincing, how about a coffee? My treat." She almost said no, almost, but curiosity got the best of her. "Fine, one coffee." She held up a finger. "But if this is terrible, I reserve the right to walk out mid-sip." "Fair deal." He stepped beside her. "By the way, I'm Steven." Monica. She didn't know it yet, but that coffee was about to change everything. One coffee turned into 3 hours of conversation. Then came late-night phone calls, spontaneous meetups, and a connection Monica hadn't felt in, well, ever. Steven was different from the men she usually dated. He didn't impress her with flashy gifts or fancy dinners. Instead, he made her laugh until her stomach hurt. He actually listened when she talked and remembered the little things, like how she hated whipped cream on her lattes, but secretly loved it on desserts. He was thoughtful in ways that caught her off guard, leaving her wondering if she had been looking for love in all the wrong places. But then reality crept in. Monica was used to last-minute flights to Paris, 5-star restaurants, and designer shopping sprees just because it was Tuesday. Steven? He was in medical school. He was on a budget. Their dates were simple picnics in the park, cheap diners, and movie nights at his apartment with takeout. And at first, she convinced herself it didn't matter, because he mattered. But then came the moments that made her hesitate. like when she had to split the bill for dinner, or when she wore last season's dress to a gala because Steven couldn't afford to take her shopping. She wanted to believe she could wait for the success, luxury, and life she had always envisioned. But the more time passed, the more she wondered, could she love someone for who they were now instead of what they could be later? She didn't know it yet, but that question was about to change everything. Monica wanted to believe love was enough. Steven made her feel special in a way no other man had. He didn't just tell her she was beautiful, he made her feel it by looking at her, listening, and pulling her close like he never wanted to let go. But love didn't pay for luxury vacations. It didn't buy designer handbags or get her into exclusive events. At first, she told herself it didn't matter. The fancy dinners and extravagant gifts were just things, right? But then came the moments that made her stomach twist. Like when her best friend got engaged to a man who proposed with a massive diamond ring. And Steven, sweet, thoughtful Steven, could only joke, "I'd have to take out a loan to afford that." Or when she watched her friends plan weekend getaways with their wealthy boyfriends while she and Steven stayed in, eating takeout on his couch. The final straw came when she met Daniel. He was everything Steven wasn't. Wealthy, established, able to give her the life she had always dreamed of. There was no waiting with Daniel, no someday promises. He could give her everything now. And so one night, with tears in her eyes and a pit in her stomach, she ended things with Steven. "You deserve someone who can wait for you," Monica said quietly. "I just wish that someone was you," Steven replied. Monica walked away, convincing herself she had made the right choice. She had no idea she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life. 5 years. That's how long it had been since Monica walked away from Steven. 5 years of dating successful men who checked all the right boxes. Wealthy, polished, powerful. Men who could fly her to the Amalfi Coast on a whim and drape diamonds around her neck like it was nothing. And yet, she still felt empty. She told herself she had made the right choice. Steven had been a phase, a lesson in dating outside her usual type. But occasionally, she caught herself thinking about him. His easy laugh, the way he always made her feel like the only woman in the room. The men she dated now gave her everything she thought she wanted. So why did it feel like she had lost something instead? Then one night, life threw her a cruel twist. She was at dinner with Daniel, the man she had left Steven for, and eventually left when he proved to be just like all the rest. Her phone rang. It was her mother. "It's your father. He's had a heart attack. We're at the hospital." Monica's world stopped. She rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding, barely breathing as she reached the waiting room. Minutes felt like hours until a doctor finally stepped through the doors, and when he removed his surgical mask, her breath caught in her throat. It was Steven, older, more confident, wearing the white coat he had once dreamed of, and with a name tag that read, Dr. Steven Carter, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. The man she left behind was now the man who just saved her father's life. Monica's heart pounded in her chest. She blinked, half convinced she was seeing things. But no, standing right in front of her in a crisp white coat with a confidence that made the air shift around him was Steven. The same Steven who once made her laugh until she cried. The same Steven who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. The same Steven she had walked away from all those years ago. And now, he was Dr. Steven Carter, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, the man who had just saved her father's life. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, time froze. "Monica," he said, his voice even, unreadable. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. What could she possibly say? "Hey, remember me? The girl who didn't believe in you?" Steven turned to her mother and smiled reassuringly. "Your husband is stable. The surgery was a success." Monica barely heard the rest. Her mind spun, her heart aching with something she couldn't quite name. When Steven finally turned back to her, there was no bitterness in his eyes, no lingering pain, just polite professionalism. He had moved on, and somehow that hurt more than anything. "Thank you," she finally whispered. He nodded. "Take care, Monica." And just like that, he was gone. She stood there frozen, watching him walk away. Once upon a time, she had been part of his world. Now, she was just another person he used to know. And for the first time in her life, Monica realized she hadn't just lost man. She had lost the man. Monica sat in the dim glow of her living room, her father resting comfortably in the next room, alive because of Stephen. She couldn't shake the image of him, the way he stood there, calm and confident, the same man she once loved, but not the same at all. Out of curiosity, or maybe something deeper, she grabbed her phone and typed his name into Google, and there it was. Dr. Stephen Carter, one of the top cardiothoracic surgeons in the country. Article after article praised his skill, groundbreaking research, and dedication to saving lives. Photos showed him at medical conferences, giving speeches and shaking hands with the most powerful medical names. And then, a wedding photo. Monica's breath hitched. Stephen stood next to a beautiful woman, his arm wrapped around her, both laughing, glowing with happiness. And beside them, 2 little girls. He had a family, a life, and she wasn't in it. Monica set the phone down, her chest tightening. She had been so focused on what a man could offer her in the moment that she never considered who he could become. She had walked away from a man building something real because she hadn't wanted to wait, but someone else had. Now that woman got to love the man Monica had never had the patience to believe in. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she wiped it away. This was no one's fault but her own. Stephen had always seen his own potential. She had been the one who didn't, and now she would spend the rest of her life knowing she had let the best thing that ever happened to her slip right through her fingers. Regret was a heavy thing to carry, but Monica refused to let it define her. For weeks after seeing Stephen, she wrestled with emotions she had never truly faced before. Not just sadness, but accountability. She had spent so much of her life chasing security, status, and luxury that she had never asked herself why. Why did she believe love had to come prepackaged with wealth? Why had she overlooked men with ambition in favor of men with success? And most importantly, why had she assumed patience was a weakness instead of an investment? The truth was painful but necessary. She had been afraid. Afraid to take a chance on something that wasn't guaranteed, afraid to trust in a future she couldn't see. But she wasn't that woman anymore. Monica began to shift how she approached relationships, not by lowering her standards, but by changing them. She started looking beyond bank accounts and job titles, focusing instead on character, drive, and values. She learned to appreciate men for who they were, not just what they could give her in the moment. And slowly, something changed. She stopped chasing love like a prize to be won and started embracing it as something to build. One evening, while sipping coffee at her favorite cafe, she spoke with a man who had just launched his startup. He wasn't a millionaire yet, but he was passionate, intelligent, and had a fire in his eyes that reminded her of someone she once knew. This time, she didn't run. This time, she believed. Because she finally understood, a man's potential means nothing if he doesn't see it himself, but love means nothing if you don't see it in him first. Monica's story isn't just about regret, it's about growth. How often do we as women look at a man and judge him by where he is right now instead of where he's going? How frequently do we dismiss a man because he's still building, grinding, and figuring things out? But here's the truth. Success isn't a status, it's a journey. The men who have everything today weren't always that way. At some point, they were just like Stephen, working late nights, making sacrifices, chasing a vision that no one else could see. The question is, are you willing to see it? Because here's what Monica learned the hard way. Potential doesn't mean anything if a man isn't willing to do the work. But when a man does see his own potential, when he actively pursues his goals, pushes through struggles, and is committed to his growth, that's the kind of man worth believing in. That's the kind of man who becomes the man. The one who turns his dreams into reality. The one who goes from just a student to one of the best heart surgeons in the country. The one who someone else will appreciate if you don't. So ask yourself, are you looking for a finished product? Or are you open to growing with someone with the vision, the drive, and the heart to become everything you've ever wanted. Because love isn't about waiting for someone who already has it all. It's about recognizing the man willing to become it all and having the courage to stand beside him while he does. The choice is yours.